We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and please be prepared to give me a big smile for LinkedIn, because as you know, LinkedIn takes the first frame that it receives, the first picture, and then there is no way you can change that. Please give me a big smile. Yay. And we're gonna go live in a few seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, going live. Okay, great. There we are. Birbal, hello, how are you?
Hi, Mark. It's so good to see you. I'm very, very well. How are you?
Good, good. Warmingly good. I think it's something like, wait, let me check. So officially they say it's 31 degrees outside in Geneva, but surprisingly, I don't know why, the thermometer on the dashboard of my car says 38. So he is telling the truth.
Yeah,
38, my car, or 31, the weather forecast.
yes. Maybe you parked your car in full sunshine. So let me give you my current temperature. So not mine, but the temperature in Oman,
Yes.
Muscat. We're at 39 degrees today.
That's great. That's great for Muscat. This is winter.
This is winter, but I have learned much more important than the temperature, the humidity, because Google weather tells me it feels like 47, and I can confirm this because the humidity is quite high today. So it
Yes.
feels much hotter than it actually
Yes.
is.
Yes. Okay. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for being on time. Of course, I have a quick question for you. Tell me about your experience with creating companies in Switzerland and creating companies in Oman. What are the advantages and disadvantages of eventually each side? What is better and what could be room for improvement on both sides?
So first of all, if you arrive new to a country, it is quite challenging in any case because you need to learn something new, right?
Of course.
So I have created some companies in Germany, and when I arrived in Switzerland 8 years ago, everything was new. And there, for me, the dangerous part was a lot of things are similar to Germany, but not the same. So you really need to pay attention to the details. And what I can say for Switzerland, it is quite clear. You get good explanation what is expected, what you need to do, and then things happen like that. When I arrived in Oman a year ago and created my first company here, same story. You don't know the regulations, you don't know how things are, how you have to do it. And I found it a bit less transparent. So still today, I'm currently in the process to give some shares of my company to a new investor. And every time you ask people, you get help. There's good services like the Sanat service here, people help you. But depending to which Sanat service you go, or you go directly to the ministry, sometimes you get different answers, different explanations. And I couldn't find anywhere it written down, this is expected, this is what you need to do.
Yes.
Now, is this the full truth, or is it because I'm new to it and it's my first time create a company in Oman, first time to share company shares with a new investor? I would leave this open and give the benefit of the doubt to the Omani ministries and regulations, but I perceived it as a bit less transparent, less not regulated. How do you say, less transparent and clear, like in Switzerland?
Documented. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Now, of course, I do understand. That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Of course, this is very understandable. We both know that Oman recently has been really taking leaps forward in advancing everything and modernizing their systems. So some misunderstandings or some different formulations around some rules and old rules and new rules might indeed not be very, very clear. So sometimes indeed you need to ask around to make sure that you find actually what the truth and what the actual rule is. So this is understandable.
Yeah, I also realized that even people who do this as a profession to help you in all of those administrative steps, as so
Yes,
many things are advancing and changing in Oman, not
yes,
everybody has always the same knowledge. So it happens that even professional services tell you things that are no longer true.
yes, yes,
I will take a positive stance on this. This country is developing. It's just amazing to see. And what you also see if you are in contact with ministries or governmental services, they are very, very digital, very, very helpful. So it's the
yes,
Omani
yes,
hospitality. They're very open minded. They want you to get your things done. You can do things on your smartphone. In the ministries, they do things on the smartphone, which coming from Germany or Switzerland, I couldn't imagine to be at the ministry or at the government, at the canton, and someone sitting there with a smartphone and entering your data.
yes,
So I feel like Oman is really, really modern and really willing to change, growing fast, changing fast. And this sometimes comes with the downside that nobody really
yes,
knows how to do
yes.
it, where to go.
Yes, but I really admire what you said, that they are really very modern, because as we both have seen, on some aspects, frankly, they are really, really very advanced. Like even sometimes on some stuff, we both were very surprised, for example, at which speed you got your first credit card from your bank.
Yes, and even my residency card, I went in and thought,
Wasn't that
oh,
impressive?
you will spend the day there, and 20 minutes later, I proudly walked out as a Omani resident.
Yes,
So all of this is really great. And I would
yes.
like to add one more thing. Maybe
Mhm.
it's not completely politically correct, but we're here to speak the truth, aren't we? So, where I definitely felt a difference, let me say, between Europe and Oman, not only Switzerland, but also here is a lot of nationalities living in Oman. Here are a lot of
Yes,
residents together with the Omani
yes,
people. Many, many, many. When we talk in Europe, maybe in Germany, we cannot take all of these people who are not German. Sorry, guys. There's a way to co-live together in a very positive way, and this is Oman and maybe the Middle East. So here are so many nationalities, and I have never ever felt like second class or be treated less. To the contrary. So people
okay,
are so respectful and welcome. They help you, they want to have you here, they want you to be integrated. And I remember, I mean, I lived in this German part of Switzerland, so in the Swiss German, I shouldn't say the German part, in the Swiss German part. And in my very first week, I had to go to the Ausländeramt. How do you say that in English? For, it's
uh,
not foreign affairs, but it's for non-Swiss people. So you need to
yes,
go
yes,
there,
yes,
and it felt a bit. The atmosphere was different. It felt a bit awkward. You didn't feel very welcome. I have to be honest on this, and this I have never had in Oman. Wherever you go,
yes,
people meet you on a mutual respect on the same level. You are as good or as bad as any local person, and I really
yeah,
appreciate this. And I have a huge respect because Oman keeps its identity and at the same time welcomes so many nationalities.
nice, nice, great. Okay, that's great. That's a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much for sharing this. Now, I had prepared a few questions for this discussion today, so if you don't mind, I would like to start with those, if you're okay
Sure,
with this. Okay, so
absolutely.
let's go back now to your own consulting work. Yeah, between Germany, France, Italy, and Oman now. You know that some of us treat their colleagues like, oh, the Swiss did, and the Indians think, and the Americans are of the opinion. And it is argued that traditional intercultural training fails because it relies on stereotypes and tick the box activities. And I know that you don't do this. I know that you go way beyond tick the box activities, that you know how to deliver to leave a significant impact on the team. I would like to explore with you the Lincoln People method, the human to human approach that builds real competence over time. And I know that you've recently had some great experience with this in France, in Germany, and in Italy. And I invite you to talk about this experience.
So, as you righteously say, Mark, in general, I have a deep conviction I do not like generalities
Yes,
because I think in general they fall short.
yes,
Um, Sometimes people tell me, oh, the Germans are so serious in work, they're so specific, they're so punctual. Yeah, there are those kind of Germans, and there are Germans who are not punctual and who are not so deep into work and who focus on other parts of life. So I think you cannot speak about a company, about millions of people, and come up with those stereotypes.
yes, yes,
I'm a certified coach, for example, for the Persolog disc model. So, where you have the different personalities, people who are
yes.
more outgoing, people who are more introvert. So, how do we interact and react to the surrounding? But also people who are maybe more task and facts and figures focused, people who are more emotional, more human connected, people who are like to be on stage, people who like to be second and third row. So this is also some stereotypes, but there I find it much more that sometimes we have misunderstandings when we are very different in our personalities. And there it is interesting to learn about each other, to understand each other, to appreciate you, Mark, who's very different from me, and to see your qualities and to understand which things are maybe getting on your nerves and not for me, although it's the very same situation or the other way
And
around.
and
So
if you
this, I
allow
think,
me, I just would like to
yes,
add that very, very often in what you're saying, it's more about miscommunication than anything else. Most of the time, we have the same purpose, we have the same understanding, we're all professionals, but actually we misexpressed ourselves or misunderstood each other or any combination of the above.
absolutely. If you take two people who are very, very different, someone is more the human connected person and the other one is a very structured fact-based person. So if we
Yes.
start to talk to each other, the human connection person wants to exchange, really wants to know how you are, who you are, what you experienced today and yesterday, and what you think about things. And a fact-based person might get very nervous and say, when do we start to work? Why do we have to have all of this chit chat, blah, blah? So we're in the same situation and may perceive it very differently. So here you're absolutely right. It's all about communication. But for me, it's also about respect. I do not consider that I know how the world are, but we all have our truth. We have our past. We have our culture. We have our values. And we're so, so different how we were brought up and so on. So, of course, um, communication might be difficult just because we do not have the same mindset, we do not have the same experience. So to work on the communication, it's very loud on your side right now.
Oh, I apologize for this. Go ahead.
Yes. So what were I saying? Yeah, I think you have to keep this in mind. You have to have a mindset that everybody has the same background, a different background, different personality, different set of rules, different education, and so on. And if I accept this, I listen to you, I try to understand, I express myself, you try to understand, then communication can work.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for sharing. I have more. I have more questions for you on the same topic. When talking with leaders about hiring diverse teams, Recently some changes in the United States led to a lot of diversity being killed actually in some companies and institutions. So when you talk to European leaders that you're working with, where do you see them making the biggest mistake when hiring diverse teams?
Yeah, so definition of diversity is broad. Diversity basically meaning different, and actually we're all different one from each other. So you fall into diversity when it comes to age, when it comes to gender, and maybe in the context you had asked the question, of course, also in culture, nationality, etc. Um, if if you like to, maybe you can cut your sound just for the moment that I'm answering. No, not cut yourself, just cut the sound. So I hope Mark will be back in a minute. Um, I am absolutely convinced, and this is not only a belief, this is experience. Teams are best when they are very diverse. Why is that? Because with a different set of knowledge, of personality, of character, of culture, of background, of ideas, of innovation, the more diverse, the more different we are, the more we bring together as a team. But having said this, it's also the more difficult because then again, communication sometimes can be difficult. If you do not share my style of communicating or my style of working, it might get on your nerves because you don't understand it or we don't respect each other just to work in a different style. I know people who need a very structured day, who need silence, who need to be focused, who need to have everything well organized. And there's other people who don't. They're more spontaneous. You can interrupt them all the time. They get inspired by this. So if you have those very different people in one team, you need to find a way. And I think the best path to success is to find a way to respect and understand each other and not to have teams that are less diverse. As you know, I work with students. It's getting very loud. It's very loud still. Great, thank you. As you know, I work with students also in career planning and helping them to think a bit like how to build their lives professionally, but also personally. And quite often when I ask them what kind of team or company are you looking for, what would be your ideal place of work? So they say, I would like to have a team where there are young people, young like me. And I get that, I understand that. However, I dare to open their minds a bit. Because it's like the temperature we said in the beginning. I think the felt age is already a difference. It's not only the number. There's very old young people and very young old people. But be it this difference in age, this difference in culture, and this difference in gender is enriching every team. It makes our common power of innovation, our common intelligence, our common background of experience just so much broader. So let's steer to accept our differences and to accept how you are, how I am, and then we have a really, really rich basis to work as diverse teams. You're still muted. You're still muted.
Double muted. If I go back to what we said a few minutes earlier about actually labels and giving each other labels, especially giving groups of colleagues labels, the Swiss, the Indians, the Germans, the French. How do we actually describe cultural differences in a company if we don't want to give national labels?
I think there are national labels. There are these differences. I think it's just difficult if you break them down and attach the label to each and every person. Let me give you an example. Um, it is true that the Omani culture of welcoming people, the hospitality, is absolutely stunning. But I have already met people who didn't invite me at their home immediately. You know, it's not valid for everybody all the time. People tell about Germans that they don't have humor. By the way, this hurts me. And maybe we laugh less or we have less humor. I don't know. I have never researched this fact. Um, but you mentioned Italy. Recently, I had the chance to be in Italy, in beautiful Parma, and it was amazing. We went to lunch together, which Germans do also. But to see the Italian colleagues to laugh together, to discuss, to be lively, to admire the food, and especially to laugh a lot, that was impressive. And then I thought, yeah, Germans also have humor and they laugh, but we are not that present, maybe. Now I'm coming up with generalities, but I was just sitting there in this nice restaurant and watching how the people, the colleagues, interacted with each other. And I asked them, is this special today in the context of the seminar? No, 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 no. You could also see when people arrived at the company, everybody was greeting everybody, exchanged a few words. And this was very Italian, and I liked it. However, also in this group, there were people who were very introvert and who barely spoke. So I don't know how to describe this better. Yes, there is differences. Of course, there's culture, but there's also prejudgments, and it comes to the individual, which is very, very different.
Indeed. Um, Birbal, in many of the consultancies that we have done together or where we have cooperated, we saw sometimes that budgetary constraints were very powerful and were very significantly impacting decisions. I remember many situations where a CEO would say, I just love you, Birbal. I would love to have more of you for my team, but I have certain budget restrictions and we can only afford XYZ for activity XYZ. One of the things that you find actually regularly in the writings of Christa Uehlinger is that she kind of says that a half day intercultural workshop fails to change anything. Like she argues that you need way more time to be able to do a significant change, a mind reset, so that colleagues can leave labels behind them and start dealing with each other as human to human, not as Indian to Swiss or American to Dutch. What
Yes.
is your take on this? I do hear you sometimes when you describe your work saying that in very short time, like for example, in 1 hour, there was a significant change that was very clear and obvious among the colleagues. But I do also hear you sometimes trying to discuss with CEOs to actually convince them that if you want a significant impact and a lasting impact, then maybe you need to invest a bit more. Please talk about this idea of half day intercultural workshops failing to change anything.
If you tie it directly to this topic, Mark, I would agree
Yes,
that a half-day intercultural workshop will not change a lot.
it's too short.
However, I of course fully understand that companies have budget. We know this. If we have 10 euros or real or francs in our pocket, we cannot buy for 20. Everybody understands this. And there's a lot of constraints, and companies have uptimes and downtimes. And so basically, this is a question of managing expectations. When I talk about great effects within 1 hour, this is, for example, to teach very practical skills. Like I love to do this when it comes to efficiency. when it comes to how to ideally use, in a very practical way, AI to help you automate your work, or how you can ideally use Google Workspace or Microsoft. I prefer to do this in micro learnings, and I prefer to do it in 15 minutes, better 60 to 90 minutes once per week over a long period of time, because then people take it, they try it, they do it, and they continue. I also love real good inspirations on a topic, and there we can go back to the intercultural topic. If you have really good inspirations, this stays with people and they will think about it, and this might change something on the long run. But if a company expects we have a topic here and we want to see change, this is valid for coaching, this is valid for intercultural workshops, this is valid for anything that is in terms of conflict or development. A colleague of mine said, quickly, you can create a cake, saying that you cannot build something big. So I cannot for 10 real or $10 in 10 minutes expect a big change. I can have a very good impulse, but if you want to achieve something, if you want to have a significant change, well, unfortunately, this takes time. Your mic is muted. And thank you for doing this. It really
Sorry.
helps.
Yes. Part of the experience that often I hear from people, part of the experiences in life that change them, you would hear extremes, such as, for example, doing an extreme walk of many weeks to somewhere, or maybe people who visit countries where there is extreme poverty and extreme richness, and they come with different perspective of life. Um, I know that you have had such traveling experiences where you've seen very poor people, very rich people. How did that impact your perception of modern boardroom politics?
Mhm. Great question. So, when it comes to traveling or going into situation, call them extreme or not, but that you are not very familiar with, this of course broadens your mindset. This opens your eyes. You start to understand things that before might have appeared strange to you. I think this is very, very important. So if we take the case of traveling to go around the world, do not stay inside a tourist resort. Go out and get to know people. If you walk outside here, the other day I saw, the first time since I live in Oman, I saw a 5 in front of the degree number. So I had 53 degrees. And if you walk outside at 53 degrees, you start to understand and appreciate the way how, since centuries, people dress. You do not want to be here in a very nice, very tight jeans. You don't want to have this at 50 degrees. Then you go into the families or you go into these excellent restaurants and you sit on a cushion, not on a chair. You also don't want to have your very tight jeans. You want to be comfortable. So now you understand why people dress differently. So if you put this to Zurich or to Munich, this might be strange. But if you are here, this is the best thing you can do. So things have a reason, things have a background. It's a good idea not to judge too fast, but go experience. And if I come back to boardroom, I understand that boards have to do significant work, which is a lot in strategizing, having meetings, being accessible to customers, etc. But the best thing that every board member can do is go inside, go and see, You know this from Kaizen, go see. Don't sit on the, I don't know which level in your big boardroom with beautiful windows and the best coffee. Go to the production. Go to your customer. Go to see your department where you might think from the reports you get that there's a problem. I will share with you a story. I used to be CEO of a production company back then, and we had implemented a warehouse management system. It had cost a lot of money. We had all of these big and smaller projects for the implementation, a very talented project manager. So everything was done, it was implemented. And then we realized that again and again and again, in production, not every pallet of products was created in the warehouse system. So we had inventory that the system didn't know about. We had inventory that we might have missed to ship, or we might have missed to sell, or we might have missed to invoice, or we just couldn't find again. Everybody was said, yes, we did produce it, but nobody knew where the product would be because we didn't have created a label and we didn't have it in the inventory. So there were meetings over meetings with the head of department, with the board, and it was impossible to get this error out. And then I took my laptop and a few things, looked for a table and put it in the middle of this production department. And I was sitting there for 3 months, not for this topic only, but also in the middle of the running machines. I started to work throughout 3 shifts, morning, afternoon, night, to meet all of the colleagues. And very quickly we found out what happened, which is completely silly. We had these new scanners together with the new warehouse management system. And then I went to see the guys at the machine and said, why? What is so complicated to scan? Why don't you put the things in the system? I explained them for the xth time why this is important for the whole process. And they said, we would love to. We don't like to write by hand what we produce, but the battery is off after 10 hours, so the morning shift uses the device. We can use it in the beginning of our shift, then we have to put it to recharge. And the night shift uses it again. We have asked X times for replacing batteries, but we haven't got them. Can you imagine? I don't know how many very expensively paid hours we spent in a boardroom complaining why people wouldn't accept the new system.
For a battery on the scan.
For many batteries, but yes, basically,
yeah,
yes.
But like in the chain, the whole supply chain was disrupted because of
and
one
the other way
battery.
around. People need to understand why you start certain things, but you also need to see how people work, what they need. Same goes for the customer. Go and don't talk so much. Go and understand what they need. Understand their problem and then come up with a solution. So leave the boardroom and go where things happen.
Okay, leave the boardroom and go where things happen. One last question on this very hot day. What is one question a leader should ask a new hire to understand their unique human culture? This is how you would advise HR people. What is one question a HR person or a leader should ask a new hire to understand their unique human culture?
What I love is recommending people to ask a second and a third question on whatever you ask to a new hire. And if you want to get to know their human essence, of course, you ask about experiences, what shaped you, what was something you learned about in your life. So ask more of these top questions, I call them. Like, what was a huge success? What is something that surprised you and changed you sustainably, in a sustainable way? What is an experience you can share with me? Ask about their values, and don't ask only one question. but ask a second one and a third one. Listen to the answer and go deeper, go deeper. This is where you get to know people.
Amazing, like every time. Thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one who enjoyed this discussion. Thank you very much. And we look forward to
Thank you,
having you
Mark.
again. Thank you
Thank
very
you so much, Mark. Have a good time in Switzerland.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.